the rise of radical Islamism is feeding directly off the rise of the cultural left. And what I've argued is there is a toxic alliance between the two movements now. We have to be clear in our thinking. What is it that the radical cultural left and radical Islamists have in common? They're both illiberal. They both prioritize group identities over individual rights. They're both revolutionary. They want to overthrow Western societies and our ways of life. They're both suspicious, if not hostile, to objective scientific evidence and knowledge that undermines their core claims. They both use blasphemy codes to shut down dissenters. You're either a racist or you're Islamophobic. They're both, religious movements. I mean, the woke left is a new religion, to quote John McWhorter, the professor at Columbia. And so they've got a lot in common. But because the woke left tend to dominate many of the institutions, the identity politics that they are embedding within the institutions, within our schools, within our universities, gives a free pass to radical Islamists because they're a minority. So essentially within the worldview of the woke left, which I would define as being really about the viewing all minority groups as sacred and morally superior to the majority, radical Islamists get a free pass, which is what we've seen every week in London on the protests against Israel and where we've seen open support for Hamas. Islamist terrorists have been given a free pass because the woke left allows that to happen. And that is what I'm concerned about. It is the interplay between the two. It's that toxic combination.
Now, I've now got to a point where every episode of the podcast I say that Hitchens quote that I've now forgotten, but the barbarians never take a city until someone holds the gates open for them.
Well, I think what is concerning is the extent to which I've passed through an institution where it's become very visible to me how strongly embedded the identity politics, or what Yascha Mounk would call the identity trap, is now in our institutions. That it pervades everything. This binary worldview of minorities being sacred and the majority white group, including Jews, being morally inferior and so on. We don't need to rehash the identity politics stuff. But what worries me, firstly, the extent to which moderate liberals and centrists are going along with this and not calling it out, even though they know it's not defending the heart of liberal democracy, which is about pluralism, bargaining, compromise. The lack of organization among those who are trying to oppose it, and also the generational trend. So if you look at all of the major surveys that my friend Eric Kaufman, among others, have shown, the millennials and the Gen Z, the Zoomers who are coming up behind my generation, Gen X, are more fully invested in that ideology than Gen X and the baby boomers, much more fully invested in seeing the world through this very warped lens, backed up by the celebrity class and social media. So we have to, I think, hold people more to account at trying to get back to these shared stories about who we are, which aren't just about, our group identities. There has to be something else, and it has to be rooted in, a reassertion of who we are and not being apologetic about who we are.